people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
De la noche, Stephanie Piñeiro.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. A recent post from newly crowned WBA welterweight champion Lauren Price of Wales, who took to her social media to say, no fight date locked in yet, but I'm ready.
No fight date, huh?
Lauren's fight with Jessica McCaskill was way back there in May of this year. We're in October now. Does Boxer have any plans of getting this fighter out before this year is out? Because there are really only 2 months remaining. And if she doesn't have a fight date yet, that doesn't leave them a lot of time. And it doesn't seem like she's going to be unifying with Ivana Habazin, another champion at this weight. Coincidentally, her Boxer stablemate and fellow champion at welterweight, Natasha Jonas, was seen preparing for what is her next fight over there in Riyadh.
She was in attendance for the Artur Beterbiev versus Dimitri Bivol fight, and she's getting ready for her next fight. Does she have a fight date locked in and Lauren doesn't?
She might. The way it looks, the impression that I'm getting is that perhaps Natasha Jonas will be fighting in a unification match in her next fight, and Lauren, comes to Lauren, I just don't know.
So maybe it's going to be Natasha Jonas that ends up unifying titles with Ivana Habazin before this year is out?
I don't feel like Boxer is doing a good enough job promoting this fighter. I don't feel like Boxer is doing a good enough job with Lauren Price. I feel like had she gone to Matchroom, she'd be further along in her career by now, and she'd be more well-known. I look to Sky Nicholson as the example. Sky Nicholson, who was in action this past weekend opposite the ring Raven Chapman on what was a very big show.
Pay attention to this.
Sky Nicholson and Lauren Price debuted as professionals right out of the amateurs the same year, in 2022. But where Sky Nicholson has already fought 12 times as a professional, Lauren has only fought 7. Establishing that Boxer is not keeping Lauren Price as active as Matchroom is keeping Sky Nicholson, even though both fighters debuted the same year. They're both standout amateurs, they're both Olympians.
But look at the job that Matchroom is doing with Sky, and look at the job that Boxer is doing with Lauren. Comparatively, Sky is more well-known, Sky is more talked about, Sky fights more often.
Fights in more regions of the world. She's fought in the United Kingdom, she's fought in the United States, I believe she's also fought in Mexico. More recently, she's fought in Saudi.
Matchroom!
That's the difference that signing to Matchroom can make as opposed to signing to Boxer.
Matchroom!
I feel like if Lauren would have went to Matchroom, she would have been further along in her career, she'd be more active, more talked about.
Sky Nicholson has already fought 3 times this year. And the way it's looking for Lauren, she'll be lucky if she fights twice.
I remember during the Olympics that Lauren Price competed in, she was all anybody could talk about. She was all that I was hearing about, and how she could be the Welsh version of Katie Taylor. 2 years into her pro career, I can't say she's making the leaps and bounds that Katie was making upon her pro debut. 2 years in. And while there is still enough time remaining to get Lauren some maintenance fight, a keep busy fight, she's a champion now. The first order of business is getting the other champions in the ring. When Katie Taylor first won the WBA title, it didn't take Matchroom long to get her the IBF title, subsequently the WBO, and the WBC.
It didn't take long.
That Lauren is with Boxer, and Boxer just so happens to promote not 1, but 2 welterweight champions, Natasha Jonas.
And what about Ivana Habazin?
They don't promote her, but theoretically that should be an easy fight to make since Ivana isn't with a major promotional outfit. Unless they made that fight for Natasha.
So where does that leave Lauren Price, if they did?
Call me crazy, call me a Matchroom shill if you want to, but I happen to think If Lauren Price would have went with Matchroom instead of Boxer, she'd be further along than she is right now, she'd be more active, and she wouldn't be sitting around without a fight date this far into the calendar year. That Matchroom would have did more to promote this fighter, keep her busy, keep her active and talked about than what Boxer is doing. That's just one man's opinion. Feel free to disagree. In men's light heavyweight news, on the heels of this past weekend's action, British boxer Ben Whittaker, otherwise known as Ben Whittaker, smashes fans' phone at airport and is hauled away by security hours after bizarre end to flight. British champion boxer Ben Whittaker was hauled away by airport security in Saudi for smashing a fan's phone. It came hours after the former Olympian, 27, drew in his bout with Liam Cameron at the Kingdom Arena in farcical fashion on Saturday, having injured his leg, toppling over the ropes.
Still don't really understand how that could have happened when Ben's legs were both in the air as they went over.
He was taken out in a wheelchair before punching a wall in frustration prior to being taken to the hospital. IBF light heavyweight champion Whittaker was spotted walking through security at King Khalid International Airport in Riyadh just after midnight this morning with his ankle bandaged. A witness who was at the flight and booked on the same Saudi airline flight to Heathrow said he was in duty-free when he saw the confrontation. He told The Sun, "I spotted Ben Whittaker coming through security, and then a fan who had a boxing t-shirt on went up with his phone and went to take a photo. Ben said, 'Don't take photos of me,' and snatched the phone out of his hand and smashed it straight to the floor. Ben stepped towards him, looked like he was going to punch him, and some of Ben's team jumped in between them, and it got really heated. They were shouting at each other. The witness, who did not wish to be named, said airport security detained the pair. He added that both men, with the fan aged around 30 and wearing merchandise from the fight, initially had their passports taken off of them. Ben said he would pay for the phone, and they were allowed to go on the flight. The witness said strangely the pair were taken into a nearby coffee shop and wrote down their details while sitting side by side at the same time. They parted on good terms."
Oh, so all's well that ends well, right?
Not for Ben. Not for an unbeaten up-and-comer who's already garnered himself a lot of attention. See, to a lot of people, Ben didn't get to showboat and play around with this guy. He was finally in a real fight, and because of that, looks like he faked an injury.
That's what people think.
That doesn't make it true. Though ask yourself, why the adverse reaction from Ben? Why take that fan's phone and slam it to the ground? What's he so frustrated about? Is it because in the subsequent 24 hours that followed his fight with Liam Cameron, a lot of people online, a lot of boxing fans, were accusing him of quitting?
Could that have something to do with it?
Settling the affair at the airport, they literally did it at the Costa or Starbucks in front of everyone, he said. The witness said Whittaker appeared to be hobbling a bit and his ankle was bandaged at the time of the altercation. When he went up to the fan, he sort of forgot and had no problem running up to him. His face was lumpy and bruised from the fight. He said Whittaker was fuming at first, but then calmed down once security were involved. He looked quite chilled out towards the end.
So what are they saying? That when the altercation started, he didn't have no problem with his ankle, but once they all settled up, he did?
Whittaker told The Sun, "This was a really unfortunate event, and I'm grateful to the gentleman that he sat down to talk about it straight afterwards and accepted my apology. Unfortunately, I can't comment further on the alleged video recording as I have not seen it. In any case, we are in touch about replacing his phone and coming along to a future event as our guest." During Saturday's match, Whittaker and Cameron fell over the top rope, and at the end of the 5th round, which was subsequently scored a draw.
So why would a guy who showboats as much as Ben Whittaker, plays to the crowd as much as Ben Whittaker, snap at a fan?
I don't know if the fan was antagonizing him, taunting him. Did he say anything? There are many details, many elements about this situation we just don't know. What we do is that Ben had an adverse reaction to being recorded, and he took the guy's phone, slammed it on the ground. Now he's going to replace it.
Clearly frustrated.
As it pertains to what are supposed to be his injuries, Ben Whittaker is undergoing further assessment on his neck, as a previous injury was aggravated by the fall. He also experienced an ankle sprain and will begin a rehab process as soon as he is cleared by doctors and is determined to be back in the ring as soon as possible. That's the story, and you can make of that what you will, but what a lot of people do,
He quit.
what they think is the guy quit. He wasn't his normal charismatic self, playing to the crowd and doing Fortnite dances and all that other stuff. He was forced to fight. Liam Cameron wasn't letting him mess around.
Ben looked uncomfortable.
There are many ways you can slice and dice it. Was it that Ben went into this fight with some injuries, some nagging injuries, and that's why he didn't seem himself.
That's cutting him slack.
But it's a possibility. It is a legitimate explanation. That's one. Ben being in over his head in a real fight is another. That as soon as they stepped him up and as soon as he was in a real fight, he couldn't stay in character anymore. So at the first chance to get out of there, he did.
This altercation at the airport seems like a byproduct of all of that. Ben is on edge.
Snapping at fans, and yet another byproduct of all of this is Liam Cameron has been picked up by Queensberry Promotions, and they want to do a rematch between him and Ben.
Will they do it?
I think Ben Shalom wants to get Ben Whittaker back on the boxer side of things in a more controlled environment where there's less chance of things going haywire.
Going wrong.
A rematch between Liam and Ben is contingent upon Boxer working with Queensberry?
I don't know that Boxer want to do that.
Ideally, you nip this in the bud. Ideally, as soon as you're cleared to fight and you're recovered from your quote-unquote injuries, you take care of this so it doesn't follow you around the rest of your career.
Like when Conor Ben had the rematch with Chris Paynout?
After what was a bad showing in their initial meeting, Conor put it to rest in their second fight. If you're Ben, you want to take care of this and put it to rest.
Don't know if he will.
Like I said, this is a guy that likes to do a lot of showboating and a lot of playing to the crowd, so that when a fan comes up to him, he can snap, he can lose it.
Why are you mad?
What's he so edgy about? It's very obvious. So I take it we won't be seeing Ben until sometime next year. He's got to take some time off to recover, rehabilitate himself, and then get back to his winning ways.
So this is one situation where his constant showboating might actually service him. That if he is to have a rematch with Liam Cameron at some point next year, and he does all the Fortnite dances he normally does, that will assure people that that was just an off night.
And don't read too much into it. He's still one of the bright young stars in today's light heavyweight division and the British domestic boxing scene. He's still one of the good ones coming through.
He's still the same guy.
That if he can go in there with Liam and do what he normally does, that will prove this was just a one-off situation, just a bad night.
Do you really think he's injured?
I think it's possible that he could have had some nagging injuries going into this fight, which is why he looked the way he looked, but it's just as possible that they stepped him up in class a bit and he started to unravel. We've seen it before, like when they put Josh Kelly in there with David Evanesian.
So what happened to him?
He was all about the shaking and shimmying and showboating up until he ran into a wall named David Evanesian.
Looks like that's what was about to happen to Ben Whittaker.
Ben Whittaker now, to a lot of people,
He quit.
it's the byproduct of being a public figure, an athlete. The good times and the bad. He's in a bad way now. He's the one that's got to fix it.
Beterbiev stronger, but I still think that the crucial gonna be Canelo's skills, defense, and offense after the defense.
That's interesting. Like Eddie feels that way too, and I've spoken to like a lot of trainers that they feel that Beterbiev just straightforward, no special effects, and the speed of Canelo will complicate things.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking. That listen, Canelo always showed that he capable to absorb those kind of punches against Triple G. Listen, Triple G is phenomenal as a puncher, as a boxer as well. So Beterbiev, he's strong, he's coming forward, but this, for my opinion, I think he's underestimated like a boxer and overestimated like a puncher. So this is my opinion. Listen, I fought the guy. No, don't make me wrong. He hits really hard. But you can stand those punches. I think Canelo definitely will be able to stand those kind of punches. But Canelo's skills, Canelo's defense, elusiveness, I think this is going to be crucial in their fight.
I think that Alexander is being quite generous with his evaluation, likening Artur Beterbiev to Triple G. Triple G was a destructive puncher at middleweight.
You're talking about light heavyweight now.
You're talking about Canelo Alvarez's skills. Canelo Alvarez's skills. Dimitri Bivol is skilled. He's skilled, naturally bigger, and he struggled to get out of the way of Artur Beterbiev's punches. This is a taller, longer guy with longer legs that make for longer strides in the ring to move around, and he struggled to get away from Artur. Canelo, who's shorter, stumpier, stockier, doesn't move around as much, has a bum knee.
Come on.
Talking about this like it's a video game and he's a comic book character. There's a physical component, a physical element that offsets the skill. That even if you think Canelo has the right skills for the job, he ain't got the right size.
Look at how many punches Dimitri Bivol threw at that guy. Landing flush, landing clean. Could not discourage him, could not keep him off.
Canelo don't even throw that many punches in a round. He doesn't throw that many punches in a fight. Not anymore, and tack on that he usually takes the mid-rounds off.
Pacing himself.
Imagine a return to the light heavyweight division and him doing that in round 6 or 7 as Artur Beterbiev is coming on. What do you think happens?
I think that because Alexander respects Canelo's accomplishments and his boxing,
Knows he's one of the best, he knows he's one of the most skilled, he's being a little bit too generous in his evaluation, not dissimilar from what the Crawford fans were doing when they were talking about him moving up to fight Canelo.
Canelo versus Beterbiev at 175. How does that look?
I give Canelo a better shot against Betterbiev because of the pace. Betterbiev fights at a pretty slow clip these days. But at a slower pace, Canelo's really good at that. And his defense is good enough, and his counterpunching, you'll get your respect. He does have a good jab, Canelo. He's a very underrated jab, I think. I give him a better shot. I still don't think he beats him. I think Betterbiev beats Canelo too.
Chris Algieri offered up a more sobering take. When a fighter is as decorated, as accomplished as a Canelo Alvarez, he's viewed in a different light than other fighters, almost supernatural to some, that he can do what most others cannot.
because he already has. Not every fighter is going to become a 4-division champion. Not every fighter is going to become undisputed.
Though viewing a fighter through that lens is deceptive, because he's only human, and everyone has their limits.
He's accomplished a lot.
I'm a fan of the guy, but I don't have a doubt in my mind that if he went up there right now and fought that same Artur Beterbiev that we saw on Saturday, he gets stopped. He gets knocked out. This is the only guy at or around these weights I think stands a legitimate chance of stopping Canelo, and I would bet on it.
You say that he's older.
That Artur Beterbiev's knocking on 40. He's 39 years old to Canelo, who I think is 34 or 35. The time is on Canelo Alvarez's side.
Maybe.
Hear a lot about how Artur Beterbiev is an injury-prone fighter. Canelo's got his own injuries, his own wear and tear. Busted hand in the Bivol fight, bum knee for a number of years.
He had to have surgery on that.
You were saying earlier in other interviews you're not a boxing fan, but it's, you're boxing. How can you not be a fan?
You fan of your work?
I'm a boxing fan, and this is my work. I'm a fan.
I can't be boxing fan. Like I'm fan of my training, everything. I'm very focused, very serious, but not fan of boxing.
Do you not watch much of it then?
No, I don't want.
Will you treat yourself to, from this for yourself, present to yourself?
Nothing. Just go home and hug my mom.
Yes. How do you help your mom?
Hug my mom.
Oh, hug. Oh, that's beautiful. So you're going to go home and hug your mom. You spoke to your mom on FaceTime?
Yes.
What did she say?
She's very happy.
Pretty boring responses from the newly crowned light heavyweight champion, but that's what makes him dangerous. That's what keeps him in the game.
He's focused.
He's not paying attention to everything that's going on, everyone else in the sport. He's only focused on what he has to do.
He's not even a fan of boxing. He doesn't watch it.
So often when boxers achieve success, they try to gravitate into other areas, other fields, and this has an effect on that area of their lives, their boxing.
They become distracted, trying to be rappers and real estate agents, moguls, rock stars.
But not this guy. That's how he's been able to stay in character for all these years.
He's not distracted.